Hey y'all, welcome to Remote Viewing Investigations with Jessica. I'm your host, Jessica Jones. We'll be peering through the veil to shed light on mysterious cases from all over the world. We invite you to join us on this magnificent journey through space and time to try to unravel these mysteries. Please don't forget to give us a thumbs up, share this out, and subscribe to Texas Front Porch and to my channel, The Cryptid Huntress on YouTube. You can find us on Odyssey Radio and iHeartRadio and can contact us at Texas Front Porch on Facebook or email us at paracryptidencounters@gmail.com and oracleofthesouth@gmail.com. You can reach us through text at 972-559-0988. If you'd like to support us in what we do here, our super chats are open. Thanks and enjoy the show. Hey y'all, welcome into Remote Viewing Investigations with Jessica Jones. I'm your host, you guessed it, Jessica Jones. Okay, so I have a wonderful show for you guys tonight. We're going to be looking into the Mothman of Point Pleasant, West Virginia. And I have an amazing co-host with me tonight. I have Barry Littleton here. The infamous Barry Littleton is backstage tonight, and I'm going to bring him up in just a minute. And I want to thank all of y'all for being here tonight and spending your Friday night with Barry and I. We're going to really dive deep into some things that we're going to make connections that I never knew were connected, okay, tonight. And it's going to be a great show. I am so excited. Okay, so I'm going to give a little overview of what the Mothman is and about some of the experiences that people had. Okay, so in November of 1966, a strange creature appeared in an area near Point Pleasant, West Virginia, that left locals terrorized. The winged creature was described as around 7 feet tall with a humanoid body and a wingspan of about 10 feet. The most distinctive feature was a set of glowing red eyes. Over the next year, 100 eyewitness reports were made of what became known as the Mothman to the locals. Some say it was an extraterrestrial, while others believe it to be an unknown animal species, and others assume it was a supernatural manifestation. The winged creature first appeared on November 12th, 1966, in front of 5 men who were digging a grave in Clendenin, I think that's how you pronounce it, West Virginia, which is about an hour and a half away from Point Pleasant. 3 days later, on November 15th, 2 couples going for a nighttime drive through the TNT area spotted the creature again. Terrified, they sped off at over 100 miles an hour, and the strange creature had no trouble keeping up with their car. They were chased back into town where they reported their sighting to a deputy sheriff there. The next day, the deputy sheriff and the couples held a press conference. I mean, they went public, okay, at the city courthouse and shared the story. All right, it was then that the creature was named Mothman because of its strange appearance. Later that night, a woman drove to a friend's house located in the same area. When she got out of the car with her baby, she was scared as a large creature came out of the shadows near her car, and it caused her to drop her small child. She quickly recovered from the shock of it, grabbed her child, and ran inside her friend's house and locked the doors. Mothman climbed onto the porch and peered in through the windows at the family, but disappeared before the police got there. Over the next few months, Mothman terrorized their town. Okay. The entire town was also experiencing paranormal and extraterrestrial activity that was thought to be somehow linked to the Mothman. Okay, so those who saw him said that he was large, gray, a humanoid type creature with massive wings, about 5 to 7 feet tall with 10-foot wingspan. And his head was oddly shaped, kind of sitting close to his body, like he didn't have a neck. Okay. And some people said that he looked like he was headless. And he just had those 2 bright red eyes that shined. Okay. So a lot of people are divided on what this Mothman is. I totally looked into it. I got to say that it was never reported to do any harm to anyone. So it wasn't like the Mothman was, going after people and chasing them and hurting them. It was just kind of there. Okay. And it was kind of chasing them, but it never hurt anybody. No one got hurt over it. But some people say that they think that he tries to warn people of impending danger with his presence. It was evidence later in the collapse of the Silver Bridge, as many witnesses claimed that the Mothman was on the bridge or around it just before it fell. And as we're going to see tonight, we're going to get into some other occurrences of a Mothman-like creature that's been seen all over the world right before tragedies happen. We're going to talk about it. Okay. And I did 2 targets on this. One was just what the Mothman is. The other target was what the couples in the car saw that night that they encountered the Mothman. Okay. So to help me with all of this wacky, crazy stuff and this information, this data, I have my friend, the incredible Barry Littleton, here with me tonight. So I'm going to bring Barry up and we're going to get to work on this target. Hey, Barry.
Greetings. How you doing, Jessica?
I'm excellent tonight. I am so looking forward to talking about this tonight with you.
Thank you for having me on again. I'm really honored. So looking forward to this. I think it'll be different, and maybe things aren't quite the separate classifications that we make them. So
yeah, Mothman is something I've heard about my whole life, just about, and it's just a big. It looks like an insectoid man. Okay, basically. I don't know. I looked into it because I got a lot of requests for the Mothman. I've never experienced anything like this before, not personally. So I thought it'd be really cool to look into. And after I announced that I was doing this target this week, I had several viewers send me messages that they were actually going to the Mothman Festival next weekend.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's a pretty big deal, isn't it?
Yeah.
It grosses a lot of their revenue each year for that town.
I guess, it's just nothing is a coincidence, and the synchronicities are often sometimes out of control with this show and the things that we do, right, Barry?
Yeah.
There's so many.
I've learned a lot. It's always interesting being here because I get nervous because I'll probably learn more than I have to contribute. So
it's
always cool.
Well, it's mutual because I learn more from you. I have all this data and I have no idea what to do with it because I don't even know what it means half the time. So I kind of depend on you to help me sort it all out sometimes because it's you are so knowledgeable. And I know you've done your research on the Mothman before. So what do you know about the Mothman? Is there anything that stands out?
Something about it that it's like some of these other cryptids that are contacting people that jump into our field of awareness and then jump out or fly out. Yeah. And I find that very interesting when we start dealing with perception, and how many of these things are actually manifested beings that start actually materializing when they're around the energy field and consciousness of people. It makes me very interesting, so but something about that I'll kind of go into later, I think, after you share your data, which is something that is Mothman connected, but it's also Bigfoot connected. And, when I first heard about this in 2019, it was from the remote viewer, John Vavinko. And we actually did a video that's talking about that too. But it's a thing that I laughed at it at first. I'm sorry, the name is ridiculous, but it's called Bat Squatch. Have you heard of that?
You know what's interesting? I was talking to my new friend, Barton Nunnally, today, who he's very interested in, he's got connections with Dogman. And he actually is the person who drew the sketch of the Dogman at the LBL that looks like a bat squatch. Okay. So we were talking about that today. As a matter of fact, he was like, it's kind of funny because it looks like a bat squatch, And so, yeah, I was just having a conversation about bat squatch today.
Mm-hmm. And that started in Washington, Oregon, but it's seen quite a bit now, and people report it as being a Sasquatch with these bat wings. And when I talked to John about it, when I got done laughing about it, he had made the comment. He had made the comment that it's a type of Mothman, and there were different varieties of Mothman. And I found that very interesting because when I look for descriptions of the original Mothman reports, they're very vague, with the exception of the wings and the red eyes, the self-illuminated eyes. Outside of that, it's very kind of nebulous. But when you hear about this bat squatch, it's definitely more Sasquatch creature with the red eyes and the wings. And it's just so interesting how that's what I'm saying. These classifications may not be the separate things we think. So I'm fascinated to hear what you discovered.
Yeah, it's really interesting because there's so many creatures that are so similar to Sasquatch in a lot of ways too. And this is a 7-foot tall humanoid, inhuman humanoid, basically. Okay, and that actually came up in my data. And it's really large. A lot of these cryptids are bigger than we are as humans. Okay, so that can be daunting and ominous. And so, yes, I did 2 targets. The first target that I did was just to figure out what this thing is. Okay, it was just to describe the creature known as Mothman, and so I came up with, this is the data that I got, just revolves around. And if anyone would like to see my full data, you can join my Patreon, the Cryptid Huntress. There's a link, should be a link below in the description box tonight, and on the ticker down here that's running on the screen. But I did get that it is I got that it is first of all, it's a messenger. Okay. A lot of people always said, well, they think it's a messenger. It's something that warns you before a tragedy happens. I did pick up on that. And I got some interesting information that didn't make sense until I did the second target. And that was that it was a messenger from God. Okay. From God, of all things, which was really, really weird to me. I was like, wait a second, this thing is kind of scary. Why would God send a scary cryptid to, warn us? But I got that it's a messenger and a watcher. Okay. It's almost, it's just something that's kind of watching humanity. Okay. And trying to help steer us in different directions. Okay. And for our highest good, by the way. But this is the initial data that I picked up. Okay. I also picked up that it had wings that, you see these pictures and renditions that people draw, and it looks like it has fluffy wings. I was picking up that it had pterodactyl-like wings. Okay. So they didn't have all that fur and feathers on them. I was picking up something that was very smooth. For the wings, they didn't look totally like a pterodactyl, but it was more of a smooth type of a organic, I want to say material, but like a skin. Okay. I also got that it is an alien, but it's not the kind of alien from another planet. It's an alien, but not from off planet. So I'm not even sure what that means. Okay. Other than it being something that's not native to our Earth. Okay. That's kind of what I got. But yeah, it has something to do with, I even picked up the end of time and the end days. It has something to do with that. So, that was just an overview of my initial data that I got. Okay. For this thing. Now, my second target has a lot more information. So, and it actually kind of correlates with what I got for my first target. And I'll go over that real quickly because we really have a lot to talk about tonight. So the second target that I did was about two couples that actually encountered this being. Okay. They said that the couples were going for a nighttime drive through the TNT area. That's near Point Pleasant. It's in the vicinity. They spotted a creature. They were terrified, and they drove off and hit at least 100 miles an hour on the highway. Okay. And the creature was side by side with their car. Okay. Most of the ride, and it chased them all the way back into town, and they were terrified. Well, some people were thinking, well, maybe it was military or something. Maybe it was a guy with a jetpack. Okay. Maybe they were testing out some jetpack technology back then, and it was just something that could be explained. But from what I was reading, there wasn't a whole lot of that kind of technology back in the 60s, but I don't know. I mean, our military and our government lies. Okay. Let's just let me be blunt. Okay. They may not tell us the truth on everything, but a lot of people said, that probably it wasn't really explainable with that, explanation. But for my second target, I wanted to see what those people experienced. Like, I was trying to look into what they saw when they saw it. Okay. And I immediately was getting, like I said, an inhuman, humanoid. Okay. Just like my friend Martin calls them. And it was interdimensional. It's a traveler. It comes in and out of our reality. Okay. And it comes out of the astral realm, and it has to deal with the frequency and the vibrations. Okay. Just like a lot of these cryptids, they're coming in and out. Like if we want to call them portals, it deals with that. Okay. It deals with that. But I was getting a lot of very calm vibes with this creature. And it actually said to me, be not weary. Okay, whatever that is, be not weary. Don't worry. I'm not here to hurt you, is what it was conveying to me. I also picked up, it's an alien, but not from off planet again. Okay, so that's the second time I got that. It travels between dimensions. Okay, I got that again, and it was sent here. I did a deep mind probe. Okay, of course, and I said, well, who sent you? It's a logical question.
You want to briefly describe what a deep mind probe is?
Yes, a deep mind probe is whenever I pick up a human or any kind of a cryptid or any kind of being in the environment, I can get into their head and ask them questions. Okay, and it's like a telepathic communication. Okay, and I use this method whenever I am assigned a target and I detect a person. A lot of times my targets are blind, so I don't know that I'm looking for a missing person. I don't know I'm looking for a cold case, someone who's dead. But when I do pick up on or a kidnapped person or whatever, but when I do pick up on a person in the environment, usually I've got enough data to know, like, well, there's this person was killed and their body hasn't been found. I need to ask him what happened to him, and so I do, or I say, where are you? Like, what happened? And they will tell me, not all the time, straight up, point blank. They tell me, they speak in parables sometimes and stuff, which is, it's a little confusing, but I get enough data to help figure out what the target is and where they are. Okay. And so I just said, who sent you? And Barry, was mind blowing. It told me source. Okay. So in my first target, and it said, let me quote what this thing told me. He said, he who all things are created. That's who sent him here. He from who all things are created. Okay. And in my first target I had gotten, it was sent from God to be a messenger. Now, Barry, that sounds kind of weird, because this is something that just seems that people are terrorized by and terrified of. So, and I was also picking up that it was to help humanity, and he's misunderstood. And yes, I did pick up like masculine kind of energy, but I don't know what it is. But he said he looks scary, but he means no harm. He's here to help. Okay, that's what I picked up on the Mothman.
And the energy you got when you were doing the deep probe, did it confirm this, or was it conflicting?
Yes. Yeah, it confirmed it. It was very, very peaceful and calm. And I have no reason to feel any other way, because I picked up on the energy of it, and it was very chill and like, I'm just here to help. I was sent. God sent me. Okay.
When dealing with messengers and containers for consciousness, it can go all sorts of ways.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have to think, like, even the angelics that would be sent here to fight demon, would they be like these beautiful winged creatures with the bow and arrows, or would they be as fierce as the creatures they're sent here to destroy? You have to think about that.
Wow.
And I think even like comic books like Spawn, I think they kind of represent that a little bit. But in this situation here, the messenger could be confused with the way it looks. And we see things that look so often winged things are associated with demonic. You see that on churches and every other way, gargoyles and things like that, what we talked about earlier, and this is when I'm going to pull this together a little bit, so people just bear with your strange friend here. When you say that they are a warning system, I've been saying for years and years that's what I feel the black-eyed children are. And that's a
Yeah.
phenomenon that kind of fell off a little bit too. Like, as I said, I thought it would. But I believe that they were a type of a warning system that came from a timeline that was dealing with nuclear holocaust. And when you hear the witnesses, the experiencers that were around them and even maybe touched one, how the sickness they experienced afterward sounds a lot like radiation poisoning.
Wow.
And when looking at the black-eyed children and to do a correlation for old people like you and I, there were kids. There
So
was,
old.
yeah, starting to get there. If you're listening to Soul Trade, you're getting old now. Anyways,
Totally. Old souls, baby. Old souls.
but something when we were kids, as kind of correlation here, was there was the thing that the item that came out that went against the Cabbage Patch Dolls, and there were cards called the Garbage Pail Kids. And if you remember, they caused quite the ruckus because what they actually were these children that were survivors of nuclear holocaust and nuclear war.
That's wild. You know, when I was a kid, I collected Garbage Pail Kids. I loved Messy Jessie. That was my jam. Okay, because I was Jessica and Messy. You know, but I remember all of them, and I did not have a clue that that's what was related to those was a nuclear holocaust and bombings and things like that. I would have never known that.
Yeah, the black-eyed children, they emit that. One is they're asking to come in like vampires, but everyone that sees them and interacts with them say that they get this feeling of emergency and a nervous feeling and a fearful deal.
Yes.
And I think there's simply a warning system trying to keep us off that timeline, since we know we have forces messing with our timelines. Anyway, going back to Mothman, I just think that may be a similar warning system, though, what we're looking at there and within these phenomenons, and I find it interesting. What I heard about the wings on the bat squatch were that they were hairless too, but the body was actually hairless like a Sasquatch. So, that's very interesting. And I think that the show we're going to do Sunday will tie into this. So I don't want to go too far into that, but the fact that this planet definitely seems to be a laboratory. Yeah. And you've got these cryptids that jump into that jump into people's awareness, jump out, and they go into almost the fossil record of cryptids. Yeah. But that's something that's really happened now. Even the chupacabra, all these things that jump in and jump out, that being that's called Spring-Heeled Jack. That's another one that jumps in and out, similar to Mothman, but different, And one other thing is, before I shut up, is that, before the bubonic plague, they had seen those creatures that look similar to some type of robots with the gas bombs or something in their hands. Yeah. A lot of depictions of that. And then after that, the bubonic plague happened. So were they actually, I think the difference is that they maybe were starting this or contributing to that, as to where these other beings that we're dealing with now, Mothman, are a warning system. So I think that's fascinating, and I wouldn't discount what you're saying at all, where they're saying they're from. It's not,
In my second target, I did pick up Harbinger. Okay. And I wasn't really sure what Harbinger meant, but that's like it's just warning. It's someone who warns, right? It's like the warning of impending doom. Okay. It's like a messenger there, which is interesting. Yeah.
Two things that I saw in the data you sent me that stuck out to me was, one, you had spoke about robotic, and then you kept using the word, it popped up 3-4 times, chimera. Chimeras.
That's right.
Yeah, and I find that interesting. When you start thinking about really what a chimera is, which was basically normally two species melded together, right?
Yes.
That's amalgamated together. That's fascinating. This takes us back to these, not just before Greek times and things like that, but also to how much of that and all this is something like, I use movie references, but the island of Dr. Moreau, remember that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
These labs that are underground, these things that are going on. How many of these things are they releasing?
I'm right there with you, Barry, because, I do a lot of remote viewing of the Dogmen, okay, with the Joe Bald Recreation Area, the LBL. A lot of times when I'm remote viewing this stuff, I'm seeing, I accidentally stumble upon underground facilities, DUMBs, deep underground military bases. I don't know what they are. They're a bunch of labs, okay? And some of them are actually connected to the secret space program. And they're doing experiments with chimeras down there. And a lot of them, a couple of them have, I believe from my data, what my data was saying, some of these dogmen were kept in cages down there and they were released. Okay, maybe to go feed on humans or whatever they're letting them do. But it's actually quite scary. We don't know what's going on down there.
And there's a type of dog man that must predate that they're grabbing their genetics from, that's galactic. That's not earthbound, I believe. And when talking about this too, and it's interesting because I think now in our communities and in science, we too easily throw around the term, oh, it's another dimension. They're from another dimension.
Yeah.
What the hell is that really? Another dimension as far as width, breadth, and things like that. But I will say this, just food for thought. What is their actual state? What is their container for consciousness in this other dimension? Is the other dimension like this one? Or is it something totally different? Are they non-corporeal? Are they unmanifested until they get around near us? And that's really what we're seeing here, is that they're, actually through the energy field of people, manifested beings. And Sasquatch is showing that again and again. I had a hard time accepting that when we first started talking about this when I came across it, but it made absolute sense as far as how many of these cryptids are actually doing that and coming through these cracks that are in the dimensionally and things like you saw and you experienced. So it's kind of endless, and then you start dealing with the genetic mutations that they're doing. It's like, Lord, where does this begin and end?
I don't know. It's really odd that we have so many more. It seems like we have more cryptid sightings right now too than I've ever heard of. And I don't know if that's just because people are experiencing them more, or it's becoming more accepted, so people are talking about it more now. But we're seeing all sorts of weird stuff. I mean, my goodness. On my show last Friday, Barry, I was talking about a zombie bear. Okay. And I was having a really hard time coming to terms with the fact that I had to announce on live air that I think what attacked those people was a zombie bear. Okay. Because I could not explain it any other way. I just think there's a whole lot of cryptids that we're not even familiar with right now.
It's fascinating and we'll probably talk about this again too. When I heard you talk about it, I was listening that night. It immediately clicked in what I had initially heard about the Michigan Dewey Lake monster.
Yeah.
And that was actually initially described as being bear-like, Sasquatch-like, but bear-like. And some of the natives even called it the whistling bear. And, so I mean, but it had the different claws of a bear. Very interesting. When you kept saying this zombie bear, I kept kind of picking that up. Again, these odd cryptids, they're just coming out of nowhere. They
are.
Mm-hmm.
They are. Okay. Well, all right. So earlier today, I got a message on social media from my friend who came on my show, Raymond Szymanski, who is a former senior scientist at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Okay. For everybody who knows, that's where allegedly the bodies from the Roswell crash were taken. Okay. And in the crash, debris, was taken there. So he sent me an interesting message today on social media in regards to what we're talking about tonight. And he said in 1966 was the center of the 1964 to 1968 flying saucer wave, which made its presence known in southeastern Michigan for the Great Swamp Gas Flying Saucer events and many follow-ups events in Ohio. Is it possible that the Mothman was actually an extraterrestrial biological entity that somehow got accidentally stranded near Point Pleasant? Man, that's coming from a former senior scientist at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Okay. So I mean, he may have a little insider information. I don't know. But however, I did pick up that this was an alien type species, but it wasn't like interplanetary. It didn't come from outside our environment, like our universe.
It implies it's genetics brought in from outside, but it was put together here.
Interesting. Yeah.
I think that's what we're seeing a lot of that, and that's why I say the island of Dr. Moreau. And who knows how long that's been going on with our present humanity's present cycle, let alone the ones that have been here before that we can't explain still. And you've got these things still running around, and it's, I hate to say this, but the demonic factor of it is atrocious. It really is. And like even the chupacabra, when I talked to John Bavinko about that, he had said when they viewed that, they said that there was a facility in Puerto Rico that got hit by one of those hurricanes, and those things got released. Yeah. So I mean, again, and there's things that he was saying that they were seeing when they were viewing this thing is that when they give birth, when the chupacabra gives birth, immediately the baby has to be put in hidden or run, because the mother will immediately try to consume it, try to eat it. What is that? I mean, that's, something very wrong there. That's a very dark thing on all that,
Well, another thing that I am picking up in a lot of this remote viewing data is these cryptids, if you want to call them cryptids, they're going after blood, and they're going for, I mean, I would say what comes up with my data is adrenochrome, adrenalized blood. Okay, so what's that about? There's so many of these creatures that are going after humans, and the Mothman's not. We're not talking about the Mothman. The Mothman seems to be quite docile, but not all the cryptids are.
Well, I mean, think of it this way, Jessica. Even I'm not religious, but if you go in religious text, the demons have always manifested through the blood. Right. Through sacrifice, blood sacrifice, that type of thing. It's throughout our culture, it's throughout entertainment, and it's just horrible. Once again, that's something about that and manifesting through the blood. So
yeah, I would have to say you're on the right track with that, even though I'm no expert, but that's really interesting. Okay, so tonight I have not brought any pictures up yet. I have so many pictures that we can show, because there may be a person or two that they may not have seen the Mothman. So this is an artist rendition of what the couples in the car saw that night. A big humanoid with big red eyes that were glowing. Okay, it was all in the papers. The next day, okay, this is within the next, that week. This was national news. This was all over the United States, and these people were clearly shaken up about this. And it was interesting because these days we have all these cryptid sightings, and it seems like all the local governments are covering them up. Well, back then, this sheriff's deputy went out on the courthouse lawn and had a press conference about this. All right, that's not something that we see today. Okay. And also we have, what is that called? The Silver Bridge, I believe. This Mothman was seen right before this bridge collapsed. Some people said it was there right before this collapse. I believe 40 to 50 cars went into the water, and maybe it was 40 to 50 people perished that day. They died.
4 or 5 disasters that it was seen before. And it's interesting that it corroborates with what you were saying, but it goes against the myth or the legend of the shaman from, I think it was Shoshone, maybe, that cursed the land.
Yes,
that
Chief
not saying the same thing there
or something. Yes, let's see. I have that information here.
And,
Chief Cornstalk. Yes.
And one other thing, you can touch on this too. In that area, there's like a nuclear facility.
There was some sort of, I believe it was like a World War II facility or something like that is in the area. Yes. I have that here in my notes somewhere.
I heard that, but also that they were actually, there's like a nuclear facility there also. And there's also the place with all the, looks like a fallout up on board, on top of land or something. But
yes.
I don't know.
Which is interesting you say that, because there's even been one of these things cited at Chernobyl. Okay, so I'll go down the list of the different places where Mothman-like creatures have been spotted across our world. Okay, so the collapse of the Xenon Tay Dam, okay, back 40 years before he appeared at Point Pleasant, in 1926 in January, a strange creature was spotted in southeastern China. The locals described him my printer didn't print that word out, so I don't know what it means, but it was seen hovering over this dam. Okay. In 1926, January 19th. So that was in January of, so within a day or two, the dam collapsed, okay, releasing nearly 40 billion gallons of water into the surrounding farms in the valley. The death toll was estimated to be over 15,000 people. Okay. But the records have been destroyed about this. So like there's no evidence of this ever happening, of the entire dam collapse and everything. Okay, so on December 15th of 1967, the Silver Bridge collapsed, releasing nearly it collapsed during rush hour traffic. Okay, in the hours that it collapsed, many witnesses claimed to have seen the Mothman on top of the bridge. It was devastating. 46 people lost their lives as their cars were plunged into the river below. And that was the last time the Mothman was ever seen in Point Pleasant. All right. Now, there was also the collapse of the Freiburg mine. In September 10th, 1978, a group of miners were headed to work in Freiburg, Germany. They were confronted by a strange man in a trench coat. When they got closer, they realized it wasn't a man, but a strange creature with huge wings. It appeared to have no head, but had large glowing red eyes. And it stood at the entrance of the mine, staring at the creature until the creature let out a terrifying scream that made them turn and run away from the mine. An hour later, the mine collapsed. In Chernobyl, throughout the year of 1985, many scientists, workers, and citizens who lived near the power plant at Chernobyl, Ukraine, saw a large bird-like creature with the body of a man flying around the nuclear plant. They claimed this terrifying creature had glowing red eyes. That's not all. Wait, there's more. Okay.
We're going to come back to that one. Okay. I want to discuss that one when you get done.
Okay. Okay. In April 26, 1986, a creature was spotted before a huge explosion that became one of the most famous nuclear accidents in history. Witnesses also saw the creature flying through the smoke and wreckage after the horrifying event. All right. And on 9/11, which this is the anniversary this weekend of 9/11, at the Twin Towers, several days before the terrible attack, on September 11th, 2001, several people saw a strange flying creature near the Twin Towers. Those who saw the attack report the same creature was flying parallel to the second plane as it hit the tower.
You know, that was a Petrosaurus, though.
I remember you telling me that. Yeah. Well, you remember, so I said
pictures of it on the internet.
That this thing had wings like a pterodactyl. That's the same kind of creature, right? And what I was seeing, it had wings like a pterosaur.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, wow. Okay. I guess we'll go down the rabbit hole.
Let's go down the rabbit hole. I love the rabbit hole.
Maybe not the separate things. You know, I get things. I pick things up through my experiences and information that comes from the other side, whether it be star beings or angelics or whoever, you know, stuff does come through. But something that I had picked up long ago and started getting correlated with some scientists especially, is that on the walls of Fukushima and Chernobyl was a type of black fungus that was growing that was called radiotropic fungus. And what it does is actually uses the radiation and uses gamma radiation to convert to the growth process. And if we go into comic books, that's what the Hulk does.
Yes, that's why he's green, right? The green and purple. Yeah. Okay.
And in this case, this radiotropic fungus uses its melanin to convert the gamma radiation into the growth cycle. So that's serious, you know. And then there were some of these scientists that were suggesting also that this was given by like a type 4 or type 5 extraterrestrial civilization that's micro to help us combat the radiation cleanup. So often we say we don't get any type of help here. Why are they just watching? Do we get help and we don't recognize it? That's a situation like that. And the fact that you're mentioning these Mothmen being seen near those areas, is there a correlation there? How does that fungus even get there? We don't know. And it's really food for thought on this, you know, and we have to expand our parameters, especially when dealing with contact. You know, like the individual, the alliance I dealt with, they told me extragalactic and then interdimensional when they gave me this name. And, I didn't fully understand that, but I do now. When they're saying we go from the micro to the macro, it's a whole nother thing going on. You
Yeah.
know, just recently, the new James Webb telescope took a picture of an area called SMACS, SMACS 0723. I immediately got a lot of information off that. That was the size of a grain of sand, and it's supposed to be
Yeah.
a fairly dark area in the sky. And they found in there's hundreds and hundreds of galaxies. And
Wow.
that's going 4 billion light years out. Or some of the beings that were contacting me, telling me to go, 900 billion
Yeah.
light years out beyond the space-time continuum. Hell,
Good
I didn't know
grief.
what that meant. I thought I was heavy because I watched Star Trek and Doctor Who. I know what that meant. Anyway,
Wow.
I don't want to go too far out with that, but I mean, just when dealing with this and that there's an extraterrestrial connection, I think it's worthy of mentioning the radiotropic fungus because it seems to be getting alleviated out of the contact experience altogether. So
Oh, Barry, there's more. Okay, so this thing has been seen at Fukushima as well. Two witnesses were out near Japan's Fukushima power plant March 2011 when they heard a loud screech. They turned back and saw a creature sitting on top of the Fukushima plant. It suddenly unfurled its wings and began to fly towards them. They were horrified by a pair of glowing red eyes that were looking right at them, but it disappeared soon after. Shortly after the creature appeared to them, Fukushima was devastated by an earthquake, and the nuclear power plant the witnesses walked by exploded.
mhm.
Yeah.
Interesting, isn't it? Interesting
Yeah,
timing there. And
it is.
in this Fukushima, they were getting a lot of that stuff off the walls. They have to send the robots in to get it.
What do you think about the dinosaur bones that are radioactive? I mean, I was reading an article that my friend Dennis Carroll, who's been on my show on Space Out Radio, we talked about werewolves before. Okay, well, this guy is knowledgeable. You and he are two of the most knowledgeable paranormal expert. I'm going to call y'all experts, okay, that I know. And he put an article up about how the bones are radioactive and they're all painted in lead paint, okay, to keep it from being radioactive when we go to the museums to see the dinosaur bones. That would suggest that something wiped out the dinosaurs that was radioactive, like an atomic bomb or some kind of nuclear bomb, right?
And if the current science or the current theory of it was a meteor that hit the planet, would that cause radioactive fallout like that? I don't think so. And so it's saying once again, we've got these devices that were here, and this place has been destroyed. Lord knows how many times now.
Yeah.
When I used to ask like, what's going to ask these beings that are interacting and really influencing my life, what's going to happen in the future? And they never tell me. I don't get no visions or nothing on it, not from them anyway.
Interesting.
And it makes me think that they don't actually know, but they'll say things to me, put things in my mind, and saying, "But this won't happen again." And I'm seeing the Earth going around the sun looks burned out like an ash. So I know something really bad has happened before here millions of years ago, and they're saying that's not going to happen again. So, I think maybe we don't have definitely a full understanding of the past. But anyway, we're supposed to be talking about these messengers, these moths.
Yeah. Well, it's tied into so much other stuff. And actually, I was about to go down another avenue here because when the Mothman was spotted around that same time, Men in Black started showing up in the area. Okay, and not only Men in Black, but there's a particular Men in Black or a potential ET named Indrid Cold that showed up. Okay. And this is someone that I'm really interested in. I'm considering doing my show next Friday on Indrid Cold, giving him his own show. Okay. Because some who saw the Mothman were questioned by strange men in black. All right. I do have a picture here. I'm not going to say these are the actual men in black that question these people, but they said they looked really strange. They were asked if they had witnessed the Mothman, and if so, what had they specifically seen? Many reported that they talked in strange, almost robotic tones that made them nervous. Anyone who was questioned and who had in fact seen something related to the Mothman was told to remain quiet on the subject. Several of the witnesses received anonymous threatening phone calls that warned them not to speak about the Mothman. Extraterrestrial enthusiasts claim that the descriptions of these strange men match those of an alien species. All right, so this is not the only possible kind of ET contact that happened, because there was something called the grinning man, Barry, okay, that showed up during this time as well. And I had heard of this grinning man before. I don't know anything about him. I'd heard of Indrid Cold before, but I had no idea that he was connected to the Mothman. I had no idea. So the grinning man, I'm going to pull a picture of him up, okay? And this is kind of an artist rendition. The grinning man is reported to be a human-like in appearance, but he's commonly associated with UFO activity and is sometimes believed to be an alien. It's believed also that he's connected with the Men in Black. In his first sighting, he was described as being over 6 feet tall, wearing a reflective green suit and a black belt. He had a dark complexion, small beady eyes set far apart. He was described as not having any nose, ears, or hair. In his second known encounter, his suit was said to be a blue instead of green. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, let's see. But he had slick back hair, a coat with 2 top buttons unbuttoned. And he said that he came from a planet called Lanulos in the Ganymedes galaxy. And there were 2 other grinning men by the names of Demo Hassan and Carl Otto. Okay. I don't know. This all happened in the area where the Mothman was sighted. Okay. He was first seen on October 16th, 1966, when 2 boys in New Jersey, this is in New Jersey, actually, they were walking on a street when they saw a figure standing near a fence. As they got closer, they saw it was a tall, bald man wearing a metal green suit, staring at them with a huge grin. Okay, a big smile. He chased them until they got away. UFO reports were also sighted in the area around the same time. Yeah, they said that he had unnatural facial features such as a lack of ears and no nose. Okay. But they said that he smiled really big, which is really creepy because there's all sorts of, I mean, he's kind of been vilified. Okay.
Is that Lon Chaney?
I don't know. It looks like the Joker. I don't know. It's like, I mean, I think that's where they got I think that's where they got the Joker character from. Seriously.
Sorry.
But I mean, what's his name? Indrid Cold, he was spotted at least 3 times. The second sighting was in West Virginia, around the same area as the Mothman. On November 2nd of 1966, a guy was driving on his way home on Interstate 77 until he heard a crash. A vehicle appeared to land in front of his truck. He described it as an old-fashioned kerosene lamp chimney, is what it looked like, with flares at both ends, narrowing down with a small neck and enlarging into a great bulge in the center. So he was explaining like a craft. The grinning man came out of the vehicle with a dark tan and walked up to him and telepathically said his name was Indrid Cold. He meant no harm. Cold said he just wanted to know more about the human race and he would visit the guy again. And that was that encounter. But there was another sighting too. There was a last sighting, but people were saying that they were connecting Indrid Cold as Valiant Thor. Okay, do you remember Valiant Thor?
Yeah.
This is so weird how this is all connected, Barry. I don't know.
I'm sorry. I mean, I know I'm going to get some eggs thrown at me. I'm not a big fan of the Valiant Thor thing.
Okay,
I don't vibe on it. And to be honest, I see people in this community taken that way far. I've talked to these 4 or 5 people. Oh yeah, I talk to Valiant Thor every day. Like he just come by the crib, he's just dropping by all the time.
Wow.
Oh,
People
maybe. I don't know, but I find some things that are just stereotypical in the community, robust, and also embellished. Now, going back to what you were saying about the grinning man, that takes us, and you know what that sounds like, especially when you deal with them and the Men in Black.
Black-eyed children? I don't know.
No, the Men in Black, I mean, they're a little bit different. There's some similarities there, but they're different, I believe. Now, the Men in Black, and as well as the grinning man, that takes us into the concept that, we have these extraterrestrial species, interdimensional species that make these clone bodies and
Yeah.
put not just consciousness in them, but also like computer conscious AI in them. And that's what some of those little grays are. And that
Ooh.
sounds like a different type of android there. You're a bio droid you're dealing with that can interact with our population. And everything I've read about the Men in Black, especially the first one that came from that guy, Lewis, oh gosh, I should know his last name. The gentleman that talked about the cosmic balls that were coming in, and
Mhm.
that was actually part of what we were seeing at the NASA
Yeah.
incident. Okay,
Yeah. I
yeah,
know what you're
yeah,
talking about.
yeah, stuff like that. But him and others reported all the Men in Black to be very robotic. And I think he was the
Yeah.
one that said, the thing was talking to him, and energy's running low, have to go, and takes off and stuff. And the fact that
Need
they
recharging.
mm-hmm, they show up in those limousines that just disappear too, like they're being beamed
Yeah.
up. And that's keeping it real before Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith made a joke out of this.
Oh yeah. I thought
Not
I
bad.
had a picture of Tommy Lee Jones with his mind eraser, but I didn't upload that one. I should have.
I
Yeah.
think maybe one of those things in there that's not such a joke either. When you start dealing with virtual reality scenario
Yeah.
technology.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry, I feel
This
like I
is
went
wild.
away from the Mothman, but
Oh
like you
no,
said,
but there's so many like branches off of this tree. We got the Mothman, but it's just so related to so much other stuff.
Mhm.
I mean, I've come to the conclusion with my data that it is a messenger. It is this thing is there to warn. It's a harbinger. Okay, it is something to warn humanity of impending doom and things that are going to be very destructive. Okay, and it means no harm. It's a very docile type of creature, but it just looks scary, and people have been scared of it because they don't understand it. And if you see a Mothman, get your car off the bridge, get out of there, run. Okay, just run. Right.
Mhm. Mhm.
So,
Somebody put a really interesting comment down earlier,
mhm.
and it said, I can't see all of them, but every now and again something pops through across here,
Yeah.
and they were saying that all angels are not attractive, and that some are terrifying
Oh, I
looking.
saw that. Yeah, we had
I
that
think
up.
that's interesting. When I died, the angelics I saw were not corporeal; they weren't physical. They were light, pure light. But what is the other side of that? And like I said, what do we think everything sent here is going to be? What angelic looking, like with the robes on, or maybe a carpenter
Yes.
in sandals? Maybe not.
Yeah, I don't know. We all just have that, because of religion and because of us going to church. We hear about them looking like angels, blowing their horns and stuff. Now, Barry, we've run out of time for the first half. Would you like to stick around and we'll talk about this a little bit more on the other side? We'll take a small a
Sure,
small break.
sure.
I have a whole lot more to talk about tonight, everybody. So I hope that everybody will see y'all stick around. Barry and I, we're going to take about a 4 to 5 minute break, and we will be right back. And we're going to continue this conversation. I'm going to say goodnight to all of our Odyssey and our iHeart Radio listeners tonight. You guys, please go to the Cryptid Huntress on YouTube and watch us there. You can also find us at Texas Front Porch live tonight. So, and on my Facebook page, the Cryptid Huntress. So y'all join us there, and we'll see y'all in about 5 minutes. Everybody, y'all stay tuned, okay? And Barry, don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a
You
second.
got it. You got it.
Okay.
4 minutes to go, folks. 4 minutes. Three minutes. We're almost there. Two-minute warning, guys. 2-minute warning. One minute. 1 minute.
Well, hey, y'all. Thank you for being here and staying with us after the week. We're having an amazing show tonight. We're talking about Mothman at a place in West Virginia. I have my little tonight, and yeah, I feel like we've kind of gone off into some different, like we branched off a little bit, but it's all connected. Okay, when it comes to the Mothman and UFO sightings and Indrid Cold, okay, and the black-eyed children, all this stuff is really connected, right, Barry?
Yeah. I was worried that I kept taking you off from talking about your data too much, so I apologize if I did.
Oh no, my data's all over the place. Yeah, I mean, and you even touched on the garbage pail kids, okay, and how they are the result of nuclear fallout, right? Is that what that's about?
Yeah. That's what they are. And I think that's what the black-eyed children actually represent. And that's why people get that radiation sickness after they've touched one or been too close to one. And I think there's something after that timeline they've seen, whatever it is turn their eyes black from that fallout radiation or whatever. And I think they're here. They were here as a warning device. I really believe that.
Well, that's what the Mothman is here for. I mean, it was clearly in my data in both targets that I did. He's a harbinger of, just a warning, like someone to warn, but he watches, and he's here. He's actually sent here to warn people and to try to divert people away from certain death.
It would be nice if we could devise a system of communication much more prior to the disaster.
Yeah, exactly. Well, sometimes it's just some kind of cryptid sent from the multiverse. Okay. Now, Brian has a question. He said, is this the same creature spotted in Chicago? Was a possible disaster averted in Chicago? Now, I'm not exactly sure what disaster that is. I'm out of the loop right now, so I'm not sure.
I'm familiar too.
You familiar?
What he's talking about there?
We'll look it up at some point, okay? And because I have no idea on that one, but it could be. So who knows? But yeah, we're talking about the grinning man in Indrid Cold. I mean, this is a creepy looking dude right here. And when I was looking at pictures to put up online, I mean, there's like comic book series that have really taken him and kind of ran with it. Okay.
Hey, question. Indrid Cole, is that supposed to be the grinning man?
Yes.
The extraterrestrial one?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is.
And not this gentleman you're putting up. That's Lon Chaney. Oh, that's him.
Well, it's just a version of him. I think that's out of a comic book strip.
Oh, okay. I thought that was Lon Chaney Sr. as the Phantom of the Opera. I could be wrong.
Ooh, I don't know. That was what came up when I was looking up Indrid Cole.
Yeah, so. I've seen another picture of the grinning man where he appears to have this yellow type of head, and yeah. So I mean, this once again it goes into that whole thing of what really is a biodroid and how many of these civilizations are sending these android things with computer consciousness in them, these cyborgs, whatever they are. And I think that's very serious. I have had now a couple of clients and I have a good friend that's somewhat known in this community, not as a contactee, but they had interactions with the men in black,
Okay.
I know somebody that described them coming and grabbing them out of school and then assaulting them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is somebody that I have as much trust in as you. You know what I mean? They're like a very real person, and they're on the good side of contact and all that. And to hear how this happened to him or how it happened to some of my clients is quite frightening, and it all connects back to this dark crap. And something I'm going to say here, and to say it. To me, that whole SSP thing, look, my heart goes out to those experience it, but that whole thing is dark. All of it. I can, it is dark to me, the stuff that's being promoted by it, and it's almost, some of it is an orchestrated theme. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying it all is, but some of it is. And that gives me great alarm, okay? And because, this planet it's the land, the lines are being drawn in the sand. You talked about God on this show, and I know probably that freaks some people out. Some people get mad, but if you take it out of religious content and put it spiritually to your personal experiences, because I'll tell you, when I've crossed over now about 300 earthbound spirits, and I use the power of God, the love of God. Yeah. That's what does it. I'm sorry. And the love and the light are connected.
Yes.
God, all three of them are connected. I don't care what anybody says, because I've seen it and done it. I've done a caseload now. I've seen it. It's not just talk. So somebody else says.
You're right.
Go to the light. It's a reincarnation cycle. Okay, that happened to Carla Turner. I'm sorry, but that doesn't mean it happens to everybody. And that's bad advice. So anyway, I'll shut up. We're supposed to be
Okay.
talking about
No,
Mothman.
Barry, I just made a connection too. Okay. So I mentioned earlier tonight that I had spoken with Barton Nunnally. Okay. And he is good friends with Josh Turner from Paranormal Roundtable. And he actually spoke at the Dogman conference up in Paris, Tennessee recently. Well, I talked to him today. And I did a remote viewing target for him. And I'm not going to get into details. It's kind of private. Something that happened to him back a long time ago. Okay. And it does involve cryptids and things like that. But he and I were talking about all of this kind of information today. And he is a man of faith. Okay. He is a man of God. And I've heard this repeatedly from experiencers and people that were put in a really bad situation. When you use the name of God and you do call in and tap into that source energy and come from a place of love and praying, these things will leave you alone. A lot of them will. I mean, he's a testament to that. Okay. And he has experienced Sasquatch and Dogman and all that kind of stuff. So it's something that I hear quite often these days, Barry.
You know, part of it, Jessica, is we have forgotten, a lot of us, how to focus our intent of will, how to really do that, and how to intend these beings away from us. That works against the negatives a lot. You know, one is when you say something, get away from me, and you put it verbally. When you put it verbally into these bodies, it does something. It's some sort of divine law there. You know, then you can
Universal law,
tell them to get away and then intend them away. And there's other things that work too. With those demonics, those dark, you know, they don't like loving humor. If you got like a kind of loving joke, they'll be out of there. They don't like it.
Well, that's why they stay away from me then.
Yeah, I don't know why. It is what it is.
I got a joke for everything. Right. That's why I'm protected and directed in the white light. Okay, because I got some good jokes. Yeah. Right. Well, Barry. Okay, to kind of bring it back around to the T. Let's talk about the TNT area. This is the area you brought up earlier. An area that might have had some sort of atomic bomb stuff going on or something. I said, well, maybe it was the World War II, some kind of nuclear plant or something. Okay, so let me give you the history of the TNT area. And this is the area where those couples were driving around in their car on their night drive when they encountered the Mothman. Okay, the TNT area was constructed during World War II. It was situated near a large wildlife preservation area, ensuring that the area was remote and rarely frequented. The TNT area is comprised of many miles of igloo-type concrete domes. The military used these spaces to create and store weapons of mass destruction. After the war, the site was abandoned. Many toxic substances from the weapons that were stored leaked out into the surrounding forest area. There are some that believe that the Mothman was affected by these chemicals. They believe that somehow a creature's DNA was fused with toxic chemicals and somehow mutated into a strange humanoid creature. Those who believe this think Mothman is our own doing and believe we should deal with the consequences accordingly. I found that on a website today. Okay, so those are not my words. But that would make sense, Barry, you know, but it's not what my data suggests. You know, my data suggests that it's something that's a little higher up than just some kind of like Spider-Man species. You know, something that was bitten by a radioactive spider.
I've seen that explanation to it. To me, it was pretty sci-fi to me.
What if it was a radioactive moth?
Yeah, I mean,
somebody got bit.
There's a show called, what was it? They, with the big ants are eating people with black and white. It was something like that. They're in the nuclear mess up, or maybe that movie Ted, you know. Anyway, and I think that what your data is showing is something different, and your data is showing more what the accounts are showing, and I think that goes more in line with the toxic dump type of thing. But taking that and cross-referencing that with these creatures being seen at Fukushima and at Chernobyl, I will say again, is that a way that the radiotropic fungus, the spores, got there? Is that a way? And all these things could be connected. You know, think about, you know, you mentioned something that this book about the children schoolyard encounters. This is by Preston Bennett, actually. And, you know, we're so familiar with the Zimbabwe children one, but there's been so many of these beings interacting with children. And often the message is the same. Take care of the planet. Take care of each other. and who is it that is behind that contacting children? I heard when Ed Dames had remote viewed the Zimbabwe children, and one of them I'm in contact with on Facebook is really nice. They're like 40 years old now. But anyway, when they remote viewed this, they saw, instead of seeing grays and a ship, they saw these children what appeared to be kind of in a trance with all these orbs floating around them.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. So was that the experience? And when you start dealing with virtual reality technology and beings that I've dealt with that can consciously project something through the optical nerves that there may not be, it's food for thought. All bets are off the table.
It is. Well, every single time you and I do a show together, I feel like I bring up that orb video that we saw. We had our friend in the chat tonight who actually has that video. I'm not going to say his name. He's a very special friend to me and to us.
Cool
but
cat.
He was in the chat tonight, and I don't know if he stuck around after the break, but yeah. But anyways, he has that video, and it changed my perception on what orbs are. Because, being out in the field, I've seen a lot of orbs that are transparent and translucent, and they glow. Well, these orbs that you and I saw, Barry, they look metallic, right? They look like silver, it was in like a CCTV video or like something that was outside someone's home, and it looked metallic.
Was there a craft that shot them out too? Was that right?
I didn't see the craft.
Like
all I saw were the orbs.
And it shot them out.
Yeah,
and then you see them running around. You see those grays running around. That blew me away.
It was weird. I still am weirded out by that every time I think about it.
I will say this. I did a conference in 2019 with a well-known whistleblower. We did a video together, but we talked privately a lot, a whole lot for a couple of days, and he told me something about he'd witnessed one of these reptilians. It's one of the larger ones, like 10 feet tall or larger with the wings, being sucked up into an orb the size of this. The orb comes over and it sucks up, and they said he kept saying that those were their craft. And I do believe that when we start dealing with the quantum consciousness thing and quantum hologram, very, very possible, but to see a reptilian of that size being sucked up into an orb the size of a pool ball was hard to eyewitness. When you start dealing with this technology, that may be what it is. And something else about the orbs, all right? Another part of them, like when I had heard for some of these portals, and this is what John Vivinko said that they had viewed, is that some of these portals that we see are literally hundreds or thousands of entities on the other side trying to squeeze through all at once.
Oh my God.
And that's just like you and I trying to put our head into a ketchup bottle together. It's going to be hard, but when those that do pass through, when they emerge in this dimension, there's that word, dimension, they emerge in the collective consciousness in the orb form, plasma orb.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to squeeze through that ketchup bottle. I don't know. I don't know if you and I can fit through a ketchup bottle, Barry. I'm just saying. I'm gonna fight you. Oh, Barry, Brian has a question in the chat. He said, so what else might have been going on there? And he's talking about the TNT area. So it's a perfect cover. TNT storage with military presence with layers of any manner of experiments, most likely unknown and uncleared staff. I don't know. I mean, could it have been something to do with the TNT military base? I don't know. According to my data, it looked more like it was something that was, I'm going to say interdimensional. I know that's a weird word, but I don't think it had a whole lot to do with that. I think that it was coming to warn against whatever was going to happen there, perhaps. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, overall, what's said again and again is that when we start messing with the atomic technology and the hydrogen molecule, especially, that we're ripping into dimensions, if that's such a thing, ripping into the fabric of space, like a whole lot in there.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, you're going to have a lot of people that are coming after something's detonated here to investigate. And I think that may be what we're seeing here a lot. So overall, you've got these civilizations like the ones I just mentioned that are contacting children saying take care of the planet, they're all trying to deter us from nuclear weaponry. That's come up again and again. Even the ones that deactivated, that's some of those silos, they get deactivated and activated and it causes a big ruckus. I'm sure everybody's heard those stories. But I mean, really, we think about the factions, the good factions that are trying to promote this stuff and take us off a timeline that is nuclear war. And I'll shut up, but that's a problem. Nuclear war is a timeline that keeps coming up here. And right now, timeline manipulation and edits happen during high solar activity. And right now we're in one. It's been a lot of solar activity for a while. So just be aware of that, folks. People talk about the Mandela effect and all these things. It happens during these high solar cycles.
Okay, Barry. So this is my data. Okay, everybody can, if you want to check it out, it's on Patreon. The very last things that I wrote down for my data were in days, in times, and a rip in time. That's exactly what you were just talking about. I have that written down in my data. Okay. Wow. In regards to why the Mothman is here and how he got here.
Damn, you're supposed to disagree. You're supposed to disagree.
No, it's right here. Look, I'm going to hold up the camera so everybody can see it. Okay. In days, in times, rip in time.
Rip in time. Wow.
Rip in time. Yeah. It's wild how all this is correlated and it's all connected and we're making sense of it now. I didn't know what any of that meant.
Yeah. Or like a fisher, a time fisher, a place where the time and dilation and all these things are happening. You know what I mean? And a time fisher. Anyone who grows up around one of those tends to have clairvoyant abilities too, really high. Clairsentient also. Food for thought.
Wow. I don't know. This is wild. This is really wild. I mean, and it seems like a lot of these targets that I do for this show. I mean, I actually remote viewed a Mandela effect, Barry. Okay. So, and I was so upset that like Chick-fil-A had changed its name. Okay. That I ended up doing a show about it. Okay. It went from CHIK filet to CHICK filet. And I was upset. I'm not going to lie. I was like,
it's not as good as it was back in the 80s anyway. It's just not as good, in my opinion. But, I think that really the manipulation of timelines is real. And I say that based on, I know you see me speak and show the pictures of it, but, I had to eat a little crow because I kind of talk trash on the Nordics and them all looking like Fabio. But I have actually experienced some faction of Nordics. And those that I experienced, I'm pretty sure they were time agents of a type. Temporal Integrity Commission, I call it. And I think that they're trying to not just historically monitor the timelines and get the accurate stuff, but also stop incursions. So, I mean, I don't think they're the only ones. I think there's a lot of other beings that are non-physical doing it also. But, these are things I know to be real in that way. So, when you're dealing with beings that can bend the space-time continuum, it's all bets off.
Yeah. I mean, we live in an interesting reality. I mean, I just did a video this week about, I have my YouTube channel and I do Oracle and tarot card readings. Mm-hmm. And my last video I did yesterday was about creating our own realities. I mean, we're able to create our own realities. That's what we do. And so you can either create it from a place of fear and, lack and scarcity or abundance and just, just take the red pill or the blue pill, everybody. Okay. Because we go down rabbit holes. Let me tell you, this show tonight has been a rabbit hole. Okay. For a lot of people. But it all makes sense to me. It all makes sense, Barry, how it's all connected. And I love how you make it so cohesive with all this weird stuff that I've got that's like, busting out the seams here. You make it cohesive and kind of bring it back and patch it all back up and make it fit.
Well, thank you. Well, I'm interested to see the responses you get for mentioning that it says it's from God. I'm interested to see what kind of responses you get because that's very controversial statement, but also a very enlightened one, I think. You know what I mean? 'Cause, yeah, we don't know what all representatives of the creator look like. And some of them aren't going to be pretty. That's just the way it is. You know, some extraterrestrial species are not pretty. That doesn't mean they're evil. You know what I mean? So
I mean, I've seen something on the internet where people are posting and said, this is what an angel looks like. And it was a bunch of eyeballs stuck together.
You know, when I died, what I saw were these angels that were these corpuscles of light, like 1,000 of them. Okay. And then they came to like these like, I call them shields. They came there. And then outside of that, it looked like steam. Like when you see a mirage on the road or something, that the wavy steam. That was outside of these shield things or whatever, but they were not corporeal. And I felt so much love coming off these non-corporeal angelics that I think a little bit more would have burned up my body. There's no doubt they were tapering it down.
Wow.
We're talking about pure God consciousness that they were generating to me. And look, I survived 4 catastrophic traumatic brain injuries, and I'm quite sentient. I'm quite cognitively aware and on point. So how did that happen? They helped. They saved my life. You know what I mean? Amongst other people praying for me and the doctors, of course, too. But you know what I'm saying? It's very real. You know, when my life flashed, when I died from that, my life flashed in front of my eyes. And it's a panoramic life review, we can call it. Mm-hmm. But, you know, I thought I'm fairly spiritually aware and try to do the golden rule and give like you want to be treated, treat the others, you know. The after school special always talked about that. Anyway, but you know, even with that, Jessica, I didn't fully get it. When I had kind of crossed over, I mean, the impact that our relationships have with each other, it's much stronger than we think. If you're somebody dogging people really hard, you know, the Bardo Thodol, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, talks about these first days after death and how you encounter the negativity first. During your panic, I encountered some of that. And, you know, you can feel it, you know, and then you encounter for your loving person, you encounter the love. It comes back 1,000,000-fold, and that can bliss you out, stop you from continuing to the creator. Got to be careful of that too.
Wow. You know what I mean? So it's all about balance in a way, and to be grounded spiritually. Am I right? Or
and to realize that we're immortal souls coming from source. To a certain degree, we're immortal souls. And a lot of us here are born devoid of soul life memories, which pretty much sucks, in my opinion. You know, it's like, man,
we have to remember who we are.
Yeah, you're in the 12th grade, but you can't remember kindergarten to 10th grade or 11th grade. That sucks.
I can't remember what I had for breakfast this morning, Barry. Okay, I have problems with that, but it's okay. I'm getting better with it. Yeah.
I'm reading the comment there. Yeah. Thoughts, you know, that's how the negatives get a hold of you, is through negative thoughts. That's the first thing they do. And if you're somebody that's shielded like Jessica or like me, and probably that person talking, if you're shielded, what they do is they hit you from these different vectors. Mess up your house, the plumbing in your house, mess up your cars, have your people at work messing with you, somebody at work.
Or your family, your nephews, and your cousins, and your siblings, and whoever, your friends.
And what that does, if you're a geek like me, let's say this is the Starship Enterprise, you've got these Romulans all firing on it in these ways. But for those of us who know how to protect ourselves, it creates these little cracks, just little cracks that they can seep in, and then they attack the heart chakra immediately.
Oh my God.
They really start going through people you know and hurting you and attacking you. Sometimes in your dreams, the worst inorganic beings show up looking like family members.
Yes, and then they do horrible things to you in your dreams.
Mm-hmm. You think, why would they be doing that?
Yeah, you know? And then if you're like me, I wake up and I my reality or my dreams. I mean, it's almost like I'm living. They're real life. Okay, my dreams are my real life too. It's just as real as my 3D world. Okay, if not more. And so it can be. And you know, since I started going public with my research and publicly declaring that I do remote viewing, I knew that it was a dangerous tightrope. Okay. And I knew that I was going to be attacked. And yes, I get attacks. Okay. And so I appreciate so much all the support for all the people who are watching my shows and really do support me. I have so much more support than I have attacks, but yes, I have people who are, their mission is to discredit me and to try to make me feel bad and look bad and bring my vibration down.
You know what?
And it's really sad.
I got really upset when you told me about that. And you're one of 3 good people I know that's getting attacked really bad. I mean, I get attacked a lot, but I just kind of shrug it off, keep going. I have a habit of pulling out a sword and telling somebody to. But you know what I mean. But
Right.
I think that's horrible because that's one of the reasons that we became friends, and that's before even we met in person. You got a really good vibration, and you do field research, whether it be remote viewing or investigation. That's crucial. That's crucial, and it's serious. You know what I mean? That's real data. So I don't know why anybody want to waste time trying to discredit that and these people that are on these horrible deals. Something I wanted to mention real quick.
Yes. Yeah, there. You know what, Barry? It's just people that are on a lower vibration. I just encourage everyone to raise your vibration. You know, can't we just all get along? You know, it's it is what it is. But you know, people don't like people that are shining their lights and stuff.
Oh
I guess,
God, you know, they're trolling.
okay.
They're these trolls, you know, and there are always clues that show them and give away who they are too. You know, something about the divine field will expose. Something real quick regarding the last comment that just disappeared. Negative thoughts. I had when I was much younger, I was trying to get a different type of astral projection of the OBE. And I was doing these practices that were dream practices. And what they do is actually develop your dream body enough to where you can cognitively work out of that too. All right. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize I was young. I was practicing this stuff, but what it started doing was it augmented the way I could see. I could already see. And I started seeing these shadows then. More than just flinty, I'm really starting to see them. I'm seeing 2 different types, circular ones and then ones that are more oval. Okay. And one day I worked this bowling alley in college, and I watched one of these oval ones, a bigger one, go through my peripheral. The peripheral is black and white, if people are aware of it or not. That's why you often see spirits peripheral. You know, so I see this thing, I can almost trace it though. I'm getting better. And I watched this thing go down at the end of the night. With us that worked at the bowling alley, they keep it open a little bit so those people could bowl. They're all bowlers. Yeah. And the bartender's down there bowling. And she just got something called a turkey. It's like 3 or 4 strikes in a row, man. She's tearing it up. And I can see her. This thing goes down and attaches to her cranium. Okay, higher cranium chakra up here, down to about almost the sex chakra. And it's pulsating. It starts turning from a black to like a gray, and it's pulsating. And that's when she got this turkey. So I go down, I was like, are you all right? You know, I've seen this happening. This thing is feeding on her emotionally, negative thoughts. And she says, I said, you all right? She said, well, Barry, the stinking thinking is just getting me. And she was about to go through a divorce, was upcoming. And that's what this thing was doing. So it was flaring her emotions and negative thoughts through negative thoughts to feed. I mean, most people know this, but it's so real. You know, we think as people, we don't have any predators because we live in concrete jungles. Yes, we do.
Yeah, we do. You know, I always find it interesting when we start talking about our, you know, regular everyday people who have attachments and things like that to them, you know, and I always go back to the story of where psychics, people who are very in tune, will be at a bar and they'll see negative entities attaching to people's heads and things like that, just waiting to be like a soul snatcher, Barry. And I know that you are very well versed in that, and you have a lot of experience with that. I know it's totally off the subject of Mothman, okay? But you know, we covered Mothman in the first half of the show, so we can completely go off on whatever direction we want to go on tonight. But you know, that's something that's very concerning to me, because there's so many people who do have attachments right now because life is tough right now. Okay. And to get through each day, a lot of people are turning to drinking a little bit more and doing drugs and doing things that they probably aren't very healthy for them. And bring us down to a low vibration. And we are being brought down to a lower vibration. And it's hard to fight to stay at a higher vibration right now. So how do you feel that's affecting the state of the world right now, Barry?
Well, one problem is, you know, like, give me an example. The last client I had, Earthbound Release, I crossed over 9 off them. Okay.
Nine
So
nine
that's
attachments?
9 earthbound spirits that are entwined inside the person's energy field. And I've
Wow.
mentioned that before. It's different because as a medium, I can detect the ones on the outside. They'll give me
Yeah.
survival evidence or something I can communicate with the person, whatever the message is. Okay. These are different. These are inside the energy field and they express themselves as negative behavior patterns. Normally the ones that kept them earthbound, and it
Mhm.
ruins clients' lives. Okay. And it's very subtle in that way. So, when things like alcohol, addictions, property, people not being able to let go, it keeps people earthbound. It's a major problem here. I mean, to
Yeah.
the point of where we get earthbound a lot easier than we think. A lot easier. I mean, it doesn't take much at all. And substance and things like that is a major one way. So people that don't know how to protect themselves or even aware of how many earthbound spirits are able to join with us in the way I just said, it's
Yeah.
very dangerous. And then that's not even going to the demonic level you were just talking about. This
Yeah.
everything on this planet comes in these layers. You got the earthbound spirit layer, you got the demonic layer underneath that. It's
In
that,
addition
that,
to all the cryptids, Barry, like so I was talking with Barton Nunley. Okay, I brought him up 3 times tonight. Okay, because I had such a wonderful conversation with him today. Okay,
that's cool.
and we were talking about how there's been such an influx of cryptid sightings and reports, and he was connecting it to biblical times. Okay, and how I'm not a biblical scholar. I leave that to Jason McLean here on Texas Front Porch to be my biblical scholar expert here. But he was making the connection to biblical times and how, there were going to be certain types of animals that were going to take out part of the populations in the end of times. And what's interesting is that I had that in my data, the end times, as far as Mothman goes. Okay. And all these Mothman sightings, it has to do with end times. Okay. And I think he was making the connection with a lot of cryptid sightings being connected to the end times. Okay. Do you think that we're in the end times right now? Is that why all this is happening?
I don't, since I'm not religious, I don't promote the the Holy Bible. I think Revelations talks about this a lot.
Mhm.
And I honestly believe that that is really the shift that we're going through right now. Because I do believe this is
Yeah.
chiefly a prison planet where you've got lost souls reincarnating again and again, getting stuck here. Okay.
Okay.
And how can I say this? I think this is the time where the shift in consciousness can stop this from being a prison planet and stop the end times. I think that's where we're at right now. People bringing in the love, bringing in the light, bringing awareness of past lives. I work
Mhm.
with clients that remove trauma that they're holding from another life. It's in
Yeah.
their cellular structure, or it's
Yeah.
passed down to your mom, your dad, your grandmother. I mean, it's really a trip. And so we have to
Yeah.
be aware of how the body holds trauma. You can look that up psychologically. I think it's Maslow's hierarchies. They talk about that too, which is where, actually what body parts store what trauma. That's
Wow.
serious. That keeps people trapped here. It's also where demonics and earthbounds attach to us at and join with us at. Food for thought, folks.
Wow. Yeah, a lot of people hold trauma. A lot of women hold trauma in their sacral chakra. You hold it in your different chakras, and because a lot, especially women, and I'm not saying and men too, but a lot of women have um, sexual trauma, from being violated when they were kids or teenagers or whatever, and so it's just it's so important to try to heal those things, to acknowledge it and to heal it so that we can move on and we can have a better life. Let's just put it that way, because we
You
we
know,
don't deserve to have to hold on to that.
I always give an example like a thorn in the skin,
Hmm.
embedded deeply. And as long as it's in there, it's causing inflammation, irritation, all sorts of stuff. But once you actually remove that thorn,
Yeah.
the healing starts immediately. And when it's
Yes.
done, you may have that thorn on your desk. You're looking at it, oh gosh, that thing was painful. The scar is still there, but it's no longer in there causing inflammation and irritation. Trauma is the same way that's stored biologically, physically, same thing. That's why things like EMDR and therapies like that are very effective at relieving trauma. So, food for thought, folks. That's all.
I had a splinter under my thumbnail this week, and it sat there and it hurt so bad, and I couldn't get it out. I finally got it out yesterday. So I know what you're talking about. That was didn't they used to torture people with putting splinters under their fingernails? I mean, that was bad.
Probably.
Yeah. It was bad. But I was tough, and I acted like it didn't matter. So and then I willed it out. I manifested that splinter out. Okay. Yeah. And I dug at it with some tweezers.
That's a good way to look at trauma. We have to actually feel it, then release it. You know what I mean? But we have to go through it instead of people just bottling it up. And, it's a thing. And it's one thing that scares me right now. When dealing with what we're talking about, I'm noticing something. That the amount of women that are coming to me like as clients is way outnumbering the men. And I'm seeing a lot of women stepping forward to deal with their trauma while us men are still too tripped out and being macho. So I think that's something else needs to change in this society right now. We all need to deal with our trauma, try to release that and move on, evolve as souls, evolve as a species. It's important right now because this place
it is. And so I know it sounds kind of crazy that I do a Bigfoot field research, and I have a show about cryptids and remote viewing too. But my YouTube channel is a lot of tarot card readings and spiritual guidance. So it's kind of like a mixed bag of stuff, but to me, it's all connected. Okay. And I have been through a lot of trauma in my life. And so that the tarot and the spiritual guidance stuff is just a way to kind of channel out all of, my energy and my flow, and to keep it going when I'm not out in the field doing Bigfoot research. Okay. But I just feel like it's all connected. And like I said, I've done a lot of shadow work, and I'm right here today, right where I am, talking to all these people online with over 100 people in live chat tonight because I've done the healing work, and I've been through so much horrible things and horrible trauma and deaths and people betraying me and hurting me and all this stuff. It has been really hard, but I'm sitting here smiling, and Barry, and your vibe attracts your tribe, and it was through that healing work that I've been able to raise my vibration and be happy again. Okay, and it's just all a learning lesson. And Bigfoot and Mothman, all these cryptids are a part of that spiritual journey for me. And so it's in you too, Barry. You've helped me on my journey as well.
Thank you. You've helped me too. I knew when we met in person, I could tell. I knew that you had a petty tyrant attached to you at some point to try to ruin your life and destroy you. And there were others that tried to destroy you and keep your light down, to keep you from getting to where you're at now. Sometimes I think when I had my car accident, it was also an attempt to destroy me before I could ever start talking. I had not spoke out yet. And it makes you wonder, or was it just a way to wake me up? Either way, I was good before it, but anyway. I feel that. I absolutely feel that, Barry. And that's why you and I connect so well, because we've both been through a lot of weird, crazy stuff that really was meant to destroy us. And it didn't. It didn't. Yeah. And it's not going to. That old drag of a saying that doesn't kill us makes us stronger, but it's somewhat accurate though of a statement,
Yeah, it is. It is.
I think this was good because some of the things I think we just talked about really needed to be heard. It's very serious, and it's every time I do Earthbound Spirit release, it's really a trip. I mean, every time it's like I'm brand new in terms of what I learned, and some of the things, some of these earthbound spirits I've crossed over have been roaming this planet for hundreds of years. Wow. I just got one dealing with one, and it jumped on the client was it Romania, somewhere in one of those old castles? They were touring, and they toured this castle, and this earthbound spirit joined with them. And, it's weird because it starts talking to me. It's telling me things that are out of sync in terms of the way you view the world.
Yeah.
But it's talking like me and you talking right now. It's very interesting and weird. And you realize, my goodness, this is a spirit that's talking about moving around since medieval times.
Yeah.
And being trapped here. But for them, the time is not perceived that way. You know what I mean? Time is not the same at all.
Wow. We have a question. Danny wants to know, have you ever met a 1,000-year-old earthbound spirit before?
Older.
Something that was like thousands of years old.
Yeah, I've met one that go further back than that. Yeah.
Wow.
Ones that describe the planet before all the cataclysms, meaning as in the continents being broken up and living strictly off the land and things like that.
Yeah.
And even talking about star beings coming here and helping. It's very interesting when you get what comes out of some of these earthbound spirits, but it's a trip. Yeah. That's why it blows me away when you start realizing that, my goodness, this is someone talking like they just been here not long, but it's been a long time. Yeah. So, a couple million years old one. And you think, how could they be trapped here that long? It happens. And it's terrifying, I think.
Are they trapped here because they just don't want to go towards the light, and they're stuck to material things or people, or why are they trapped here?
All the above. A lot of times they don't go into light because they can't let go of something here. A lot of times I'll catch, I didn't know what it was. The people that go through their life paying their bills and everything, but they don't focus on the spiritual at all or the creator at all. So they don't know what the light is. And then there's others that say, when I was alive, I dogged some people out. I even killed somebody. And when I go into that light, I'm going to burn. It's got to be hell. My experience is it is not. That's not what happens to them in there. You have to deal with some things, but it's not hell. But that fear of hell is enough. Like, I used to have some Christian friends. They would say they was Christians because they were doing that because just in case they didn't want to die and then be at some lake shoveling sulfur into a pit with some demon that looks like a pig sticking them with a porch.
Yeah. I don't blame them. Yeah.
Well, check it out. At autosuggestion wise, and talk about hypnosis and things like that, autosuggestion, that is the most powerful autosuggestion ever. So it has people going with the religion just in case that's right. I'm not criticizing anyone. Yeah. I'm just saying, think about autosuggestion and what it actually is. So when seeing the light and you're out of your body and you're lacking the discernment because lack of knowledge, lack of spiritual exploration, you don't know what the light is, and you've done something bad. You're a person who were dogging people out down here to get rich or whatever, and you worry that it's hell and you're going to burn in there. That's your concept of what you've done is hell, burning. And that's what the light must be. But that is enough to stop a lot from going into it. Then the other part would be addictions and loved ones. You can love somebody. You've heard some people say, "Oh, don't go. Please don't leave me."
Yeah.
And and that keeps them there. It keeps them here. When my mother died, I had to make sure I didn't do that. I whispered in her ear, "Please cross over, Mom. Don't stay here." You know what I mean? Yes. That's sorry.
But no, I'm just saying, I can't say I'm not guilty of that. My little brother died in a car accident, and I can't say I don't remember. It was so traumatic. I don't remember a whole lot from that area or from that era. Excuse me, but it was. I'm sure I was like, don't leave me. You can't go. And that was very selfish of me. But I was not awakened at the time. It was very selfish, just from the ego. And that's what that was.
Human. Was it selfish or was it human?
It was just me being human. Listen, it's all about being human, and we are humans. We're having a human experience. We don't know better. A lot of us don't know better. We're doing the best we can.
And then sometimes they don't want to leave, but that's definitely a way to keep earthbounds here. But by the same token, like I did a video, and I don't know if I put it out yet on regular YouTube, but it's what happens in the light. I can't tell you everything, but I know I've seen loved ones come back through these portals and help their loved ones cross over. And sometimes they have what appears to me as psychically, when I'm seeing, they appear to have these wings, the way we would perceive angelics to be. But I know they don't. I know angels don't actually look like that from when I died, but it's cognitive dissonance, So anyway,
they may look like Mothman. Who knows? What if Mothman's an angel?
Well, that's what they just told you, more or less.
Yeah, they did. They did. Yes.
Light beings. You've got unmanifested beings. You got. The point is, though, it's telling you it's working with God. The beings I work with always use the words the Christ consciousness. When they first told me that, I got uncomfortable at first because I thought it meant religion, and I'm not religious, but it's beyond that. It's a frequency of the creator that's a love frequency that we can access, period.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, twice in my data on 2 different targets, it came up that it was sent from source, from God, to be a warning, to be a harbinger or a messenger, really just a messenger, maybe to try to prevent some deaths from happening. So, hey, if this doesn't, if nothing else, this is teaching us to watch for signs and synchronicities. Okay. And if you see a Mothman, just turn around and walk away. Go, don't drive over that bridge. Okay. Take care of yourself. Take heed. Okay?
Ask it telepathically. What does it want? What's the danger?
Yeah.
Tell people. That's what I'm saying. It would be nice if they showed up as a warning system enough to kind of change that dead zone where it could go the other way.
Yeah.
So
it's ultimately the Mothman is not here to hurt anybody. It's here to be a warning, and like I said, it's just to steer us away from danger. That's all it is. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Danny. Donnie. Sorry, Donnie. I can't see. My eyes are a little foggy today. Donnie Cho, thank you so much for that super chat. That's awesome of you. Thank you. They are on vacation getting drunk. Just like, yes. I need a vacation myself, actually. So
I just saw something flash by that said, I feel that my ancestors are my angels. That can be. Yeah, that can be. Definitely. I've seen that, but I've also seen ancestors being earthbound spirits going from generation to generation. So be careful.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of terrifying to me, because I don't want to think about my loved ones being stuck here on Earth and not able to cross over.
That's the problem.
It's a scary thought.
Our society doesn't deal with death that well. It doesn't. Well, not all of us, but I think particularly American culture does not prepare for death correctly. We don't talk about the light or talk about any of these concepts we're talking about right now. And if you do hear, a lot of what you hear is so watered down that you can't trust it. You know what I mean? So I think, So.
Yeah. Well, my goodness, Barry, we have talked about a lot of stuff tonight. This has been a lot of fun.
So tell me, I can't see the comments. Are people upset?
People are not. You know what? I think that this has been a really great conversation tonight, and I know it's we set the outline. We kind of followed it, but we kind of went off a little bit. But I think it's all important. Everything we talked about tonight is very meaningful, and it can really help some people. And I know it helped me. I hope it helped people watching tonight. And I think everybody liked it, Barry. I think everyone.
You got the data out, though, right?
We got the data out. We did. Okay. Yes, we got the data out. Okay, Mothman is not here to hurt anybody. He's here to warn us. Okay, if something's going to happen, and it has happened all over the world. And I know there was a theory that he was the result of a curse from Chief Cornstalk. Okay. Now I did not pick up on that curse. I did not. Okay. And I know that is a long known, factor in Mothman, and people thought that he was a result of that curse from that Native American chief. I did not pick up on that on my data. I did pick up that he was more of something that was sent from source and as a messenger to try to steer us away from danger and from death and destruction. Yeah. And so I hope that helps. And so I have zero connection to this Mothman conference, so this festival next weekend, but I wanted to pull it up because I know there's a few people going that have contacted me about the show tonight. So they're having a Mothman festival up at I guess it's Point Pleasant, West Virginia. So y'all go to that and let me know how it is, and have some fun, and just and hopefully this helped. Not that it answers all the questions about Mothman, but maybe it could shed a little bit of light.
Yeah, it just gives a different perspective on it, I think, and good information,
Yeah. I think so. And Barry, you always have the best information. So thank you for being here tonight and for helping
Thank
me.
you. Hopefully, I
And,
was able to pull it together because it was Mothman connected, just the subject, and it just aren't the separate things that we think they are. A lot of times, I think,
yeah.
So
I think it's all connected. Black-eyed children, Mothman, the Indrid cold. Okay, and honestly, I may do a show about Indrid cold next week. I was so intrigued by that story. I believe that I might actually put a whole show into him. So
I gotta be honest. I heard about
the
grinning man, but I never heard about that individual name. That name, I've never heard it before. So.
Yeah. Some people think he's a Men in Black. Some people think that he is. He stated that he was from another galaxy. Okay, so I was actually going to remote view it before the show, but I was like, you know what? I'm just going to save that for a whole show for his own. Okay, because I think it deserves that. I don't know. That's a creepy, the smiling man.
Well, as you well know, the ones that claim to be from different galaxies, the ones interest me the most, because most all of my contacts are other galaxy type of deal. So I know about it, definitely.
Well, if I do Indrid Cold next week, maybe you can join me if you're free. We'll see. Okay.
So let me know. I don't know anything about it, so I'm no expert on that.
Neither do I. I don't know anything about anything. Oh my gosh. Well, Barry, you are always a pleasure to have here with me. Thank you so much. You really bring it all together and make it all.
Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. It's been an honor, and I want to say thank you to your audience. They've been really, really great to me every time I've been on here, and some of them send me friend requests or join my YouTube. Thank you very much.
And your Patreon. Everybody join Barry's Patreon too. Okay. Barry Littleton. He's on YouTube and on Patreon. He's got some of the best videos ever out there. Yes. And also join me this weekend. I'm going to be on Spaced Out Radio. Dave Scott's been off all week. So I am bringing it back tomorrow night. I'm going to have Daniel Benoit on my show from the East Coast Bigfoot Researchers Organization. We're going to talk about Bigfoot in Virginia. And Sunday night, I have the wonderful, the talented, illustrious Barry Littleton coming on my show on Sunday night. We're going to be talking about mutant Sasquatch species and Earth as a lab, okay, as a laboratory. So, Barry, I can't wait to see you there. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be fun. Yeah. We'll talk about Gugway and Genesquas and all those violent Sasquatches out there. So everybody, thank y'all so much for tuning in tonight. We've really enjoyed it. We went 2 hours, Barry. This has been wild.
Yeah. It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
It has been. All right. Well, I will see you guys next Friday. Please tune in to Spaced Out Radio tomorrow night. And I will see y'all soon. Y'all have a great night and have a great weekend. Bye, y'all.